Hello and welcome. Today I'm going to be talking about the quiet strength within, how to harness introversion. Me, personally, I am an INFJ on the Myers-Briggs test. If you're interested, you can go and Google to find out. So I am incredibly introverted, among other things. But today, I want to really very briefly mention that being an introvert, first of all, it has nothing to do with being shy. I think there is huge power in harnessing our abilities as an introvert in a world that operates and is designed for extroverts. And if we just really work our own power, our own magic, we can really thrive. Number one, usually, if you are a person who thinks before you speak, which most introverts tend to be, you will make more sense. You will come across more confident. You see, there is a lot of power when you are, for example, in a meeting, everybody's talking, and you just position yourself and you just deliver your message and say what you have to say, breathing properly, projecting your voice in a calm, and considered manner. You can actually be heard more attentively than anyone else in the room, talking loudly and being incredibly out there and outspoken. And hey, I'm making these comments and it's a little bit tongue-in-cheek. I'm not throwing shade on the extroverts, okay? I am married with an extrovert and I love him deeply. And I think there are strengths in each kind of personality. In our case, the introverts, we can actually, once we understand how we manage our energy, which most of people these days already know that if you're an extrovert, you recharge your energy by socializing and spending time with other people, whilst the introvert recharge and rejuvenate by spending time alone. It doesn't mean that we dislike people, it just means that we need to be more considerate about who do we spend time with and how long, because we do need to actually recharge. Another thing that's quite important is to understand how you work best. So in my working life, I insisted for many years in spending time and working in environments that were designed for extroverts and only really led me to burnout, to be honest. Even if it's an open plan office, you still can apply for positions and try to, craft a working life for yourself that doesn't necessarily involve a lot of stimulation. I appreciate that it's a privilege to be able to do that, and many of us had to work in environments that were very loud. So if you can choose, craft a profession, a working path that you can have more control of your environment. And if not, if you're one of those like me in the past who actually had to do jobs that were interacting with people the whole day in a busy environment, make sure you go home and spend time alone. Make sure you spend time doing something that recharges you. Choose your thing and have downtime. That's like life-saving for an introvert. Another thing that is quite the strength is our ability to embrace solitude, because solitude has nothing to do with feeling lonely. In fact, I really recharge my energy and feel the best when I go off for a walk alone, or I spend time journaling, or I'm out for a run or something like that. And I think this is an asset, is the ability to recharge your energy and feel good and recover from the stresses of the everyday life, and being independent and being able to do that alone. That's incredibly valuable. You don't need anyone to be able to do that, right? You just need yourself. That is something to use as a resource and not something to be perceived as a negative. And just ignore the social norms designed for extroverts and you'll be just fine. Also, those of us who are introverts are much more able to have fewer but deeper connections with other individuals. So it's all about quality rather than quantity. And again, Everybody's different, but this video is about the introverts among us. And I have been a person who never really like having a large group of people around me. I always did very well in a one-to-one basis is where I thrive. If I am in a large group, I tend to be more quiet and I tend to just be observing, and if someone talks to me, I will talk, but otherwise I don't tend to be the most vocal. And many times I have been judged as being shy when I'm not really shy. I'm just an introvert. I speak when I have something to say. And another point I want to mention here, the INFJs, they really have, if you're out there, one of those, you know that you can really use your intuition to help you to understand, to navigate your emotions, to understand the environment you're in. So I think that's another, in a sense, superpower that not many people who depend too much on external stimulation understand very well. So I think the ability to harness power from within and pay attention and listen to how you're feeling about a situation or about your day or something you have to do is actually quite relevant. If you train yourself to listen, it starts to become quite accurate over time, speaking for experience. So to all my fellow introverts out there, this is just to cheer you on a bit, and because we don't tend to get a lot of press, I think a lot of individuals don't really appreciate how we can really harness our ability to reflect inwards and really use as a superpower, really, our ability to reflect, our ability to develop deeper connections, to rely perhaps on our intuition, and to spend time alone, to be more independent. And that doesn't mean we can't forge a successful life and have, soulful relationships. Totally possible. As long as we learn to protect our energy and don't allow ourselves to get overstimulated, usually we are good as gold. Let me know in the comments section below, what do you think about the world we live at the moment that is so overstimulated? It doesn't really accommodate a lot for the introverts among us. How do you cope? What do you do? What is your strategy? I often travel in public transport. I always have headphones on. What do you do? Everybody have their own little trick. So this is all for today. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Just ignore what society say about everything.